Well, according to the Labor Department, unemployment fell from 8.3 to 8.1% last month. But that was because that's because 368,000 Americans gave up looking for work. Yeah. And today, President Obama said that's a step in the right direction, and he is encouraging more Americans to give up looking for work. So the numbers will come down a little bit. Yeah.
Did you hear about the Fed?
No, what about the Fed?
They announced another round of the quantitative easing.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to make large asset purchases via PAMO.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to expand their balance sheet and buy treasuries.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to print a ton of money.
So why do they call it the quantitative easing? Why don't they just call it the printing money?
Because the printing money is the last refuge of failed economic empires and banana republics, and the Fed doesn't want to admit this is their only idea.
So why do they want to print the money?
Because they say we have the deflation, and the deflation is very bad.
What is the deflation?
The deflation is when prices of the things we buy go down.
Isn't that good? Doesn't it mean the people can buy more of the stuff?
Yes, but the Fed said this is bad, especially during the recession.
So they think that during the recession, when the people have less money to buy the stuff, it is bad that the prices go down?
Yes, the Fed would rather have the inflation.
So why does the Fed think we have the deflation?
Because the CPI said so.
But aren't the food prices higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the gas prices higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the healthcare costs higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't tuition prices higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the taxes higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the subway fares higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the stock prices higher than a year ago?
Yes.
Aren't the bond prices higher than a year ago?
Yes.
So what is deflating right now?
The only thing deflating that I can see is the Fed's credibility.
Did they have a lot of credibility to start with?
No.
Why not?
Because the Fed has been wrong about every major economic development in the past 20 years.
You know, I didn't watch it, I got to admit. Yeah.
I
understand they talked about me a lot.
Yeah. but now here's what I found troubling, and I want you to help me through this. Yeah. They had the clock, the debt countdown clock, and I mean this thing is going like crazy. Right. And it's several $1 trillion. Right. Now, what is that?
Well, here's what happened. We had a surplus when Bill Clinton was president.
That means extra money.
Extra money. It was projected to continue to be a surplus. We decided to launch 2 wars on a credit card. We cut taxes twice without finding offsetting costs for it or ways to pay for it. A prescription drug plan, and then we had a massive recession. And so when I walked into office, we had a $1 trillion deficit. Debt had mounted, and then we had to take a bunch of emergency measures. That cost money, saving the auto industry, making sure that the financial system got back on track. And so now what we've got to do is we've got to pare down that deficit, get that debt under control.
Now, do you remember what that number was? Was it 10 trillion? Was it that?
I don't remember what the number was precisely.
Right, but see, now, if this is me and I got the credit card guy calling me every day, I start to get scared. I mean, as Americans, should we be scared that we owe that kind of money? Who do we owe that money to?
Well, a lot of it we owe to ourselves, right? Because if you invest in a treasury bill or something like that.
HR Pop and Step, who's your friend when things get rough? HR Pop and Step, can't do a little 'cause you can't do enough.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is the online, on-demand Fastener Talk radio show where we delve into all topics broadly and predominantly fastener-related. And we're glad you clicked in. Hi, everybody. This is your faithful host, Eric Dudas. The co-host of Fully Threaded is with me as well. He's the man Dan Zender calls that guy with the sexy New Zealand twang. And I can personally attest that he is, in fact, a babe magnet. He's Brian Musker. Hey, you doing all right, Bri?
Oh, God, after that. A babe magnet. Thanks, Eric.
Well, the fastener industry is gearing up for its biggest extracurricular activity event of the year, Bri, so you're going to be in good stead.
Right, yeah. If I wasn't locked behind the booth. Okay.
Well, we'll deal with that later, but yes, it's the Fastener Prom, as we've called it in the past, and like lots of fastener companies right now, we're trying to figure out what the hell did we do with all the literature we had printed up from last year's show that was left over.
Yes, not entirely, because I have found all of the fridge magnets that don't stick to fridges.
God, what's it been, like 5 years now with those?
Right, yeah, we've had a little trouble giving them away, okay?
I think we might lose those this year. Speaking of magnets.
Okay, that's right.
And aside from that, most everybody that we've been talking to lately is either thinking about that or how to get past the upcoming elections or how bad the NFL is looking these days due to the terrible officiating we've been seeing.
Yeah, as recently as last night.
Oh, my God. How are we supposed to do any work with stuff like that happening?
But it's only fair that people who have no experience and no abilities can do jobs, okay?
Well, you know, these guys, most of them are like college refs. I don't understand this. How is it that different?
I don't know.
Well, one thing is Browns fans don't have anything to blame on that. The officiating has been fine. We have other things to think about.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Stir the pot.
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
I know, I can tell.
And I suppose that's a topic that can wait for the bourbon room anyway, where our good friend, blogger, traveling salesman, has set up a meeting for after the big Vegas show, and that's going to happen on October 11th at 8:30 p.m. in the bourbon room, and that's located in the Venetian Hotel. For details on that, I suppose you're going to have to go out to his blog, which is fastenerblog.net, or just wait a little and hang out on Twitter, and you'll see it fly by.
So how are we meant to know when the traveling salesman walks into the bourbon room then? I mean, is he going to have a big sign up, or do we just count around to find out who we know and work out the people we don't know? One of them's him?
It's a good question. I've asked myself that as well.
Ah.
I'm not sure. Maybe you should post that to his blog.
Yeah, we need to know that. I mean, lots of people would like to know that, I think.
I think you're right. That's why I think it's going to be a pretty big hit.
Okay.
Well, let's not spend another second on that. Let's get right to it. And this is episode 52 of Fully Threaded Radio, and we're publishing on September 27th, 2012. We're keeping things predominantly fastener related on this episode, folks, and if you've listened to the show in the past, then you won't be surprised by our feature segment today, which is a political shootout between two longtime fastener industry veterans, each with outspoken views. From Lucky 13 Fastener Sales, and sharing her views from the liberal side of the political conversation, Julee Mortensen joins us. And offering an opposing view, Quick Screws International CEO Greg Wiener joins us again. Whether you're a hardcore political junkie or if you usually tune into FTR just to pick up the latest fastener stories, this is a segment I hope you'll all enjoy. It's authentic, it goes right to the main points, and it touches on some of the most important issues facing our country and our industry. And given the fact that the political conversation today is so hypercharged, Greg and Julie were very generous and very courageous to jump in with us on this. Also, as we have mentioned, the big show is coming up soon, and the Wi-Fi group, Women in the Fastener Industry, plan on making a splash with their latest meeting, which features the latest in their speaker series. Cris Young and Ruth Dowling will be here to share all the details on that. On Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report, Mike will be reporting in from Shanghai, China, where he's working on the Wire China show for Fastener Technology International. Mike will have all the headlines for us, in addition to his perspective from the East. And he also has an interview with Joe Poplinski of Beacon Fasteners, discussing their recent announcement on an exciting new technology partnership.
So then Mike decided he wasn't going to wait for you to call him in case it was at 3 a.m. like the last time you called China.
Yeah, that was Jay Keenan. I tend to surprise people when they're traveling in China, but this time we worked it all out ahead of time.
Okay, good.
Thanks for checking, Bri.
That's all right.
And as if all that isn't enough, we have an update for you regarding the whereabouts of one Mr. Andy Pels. And that's sure to add even more anticipation to this year's Vegas show.
Wow. Okay.
All that's coming right up, folks. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. And Beacon Fasteners and Components. Beacon Fasteners. Nice threads. Hey, we've got a new sponsor on the show this episode, and I'd like to take a moment to give them a special welcome. That is Trinity Hardware Headquarters. They're going to be with us, and that's Mr. Dan Zender's company, of course.
Yeah.
He's been a big fan and supporter of the show for some time, and we're just thrilled to have them on board.
Oh, yeah, I remember we've been talking with Dan for a long time, so it's good. One day I'll actually be able to get him to answer the phone when I call.
He's a hard guy to reach. He's so busy.
I know.
But we'll be hearing a little bit from him in upcoming episodes. Mark my words on that, Bri.
Good.
Yep. Hey, communicate with us anytime, folks. We'd love to hear what you're thinking. And our email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. We also hang out on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. We use Facebook to post references to the show that we talk about here, and get out there on the Facebook page, Fully Threaded. Let us know what you're thinking. Hey, post even some of your own stuff up there. We'd be glad to see it.
As long as it's predominantly fastener related.
We give you a little leeway out there, though.
A fair amount, actually.
Yeah, we've been accused of deviating a little bit, but I guess we're guilty as charged on that. We're also guilty of being the people who bring you fastenersclearinghouse.com. And that's the FCH sourcing network. It's a giant online network. I hope you and your team are out there using it whenever the need comes up. Something of about 800,000 line items these days. You can get out there at no charge, search and source. On the other side of the coin, if you're looking for a place to list your inventory, to generate new sales or find new business, this is the place for you, folks. Go to www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. You know, we talk about this all the time on the show, Bri. We try and keep it to a minimum, but let's face it, this is our commercial, and we've been working on a very significant interface with some of the major ERPs in the industry, some of the major software platforms, and one of the ones that's been coming online in a big way lately has been Computer Insights. You've been working with their technical team over there. We've got several users that are coming on board. We couldn't be more thrilled. What's the latest with all that?
Well, the latest is that we been working with Paul DeFalco. He's a very, very easy guy to work with. And we've come up with some interesting enhancements, that would be a nice way of saying it, to our interface that really make it hum, okay? And we've rethought how parts of it work, all aimed at trying to make it so that, you know, with the simplest possible procedure, people can send us inventory and actually keep it maintained, keep the quantities updated without having to do a lot of work in the meantime. And some good ideas have come from Paul, actually, and we've implemented them. And the person who has suffered through some of this is Jim Saraceni from Accurate Industrial, who has been a type of guinea pig and has suffered in silence. But it's working pretty well.
Now, didn't Jim say he was going to be heading out to the Vegas show this year, too?
Yes, he's a little bit elusive. But I hear that he's going to try and make it out to the Las Vegas show this year.
Yes, this is good, especially if he actually makes it to the show floor this time.
Right, that would be an interesting change. And he might actually be able to find a beer in the floor somewhere.
Yes, well, I think we've mentioned that previously on Fully Threaded Radio. I think that's a certainty, so there's even more incentive. Now, the interface that you're talking about with Computer Insights, and of course we've got this going with Distribution One and InSQL as well, but this really is designed to help users to keep their inventory up to date on fastenersclearinghouse.com, and that is really going to help the whole network, isn't it?
Right. I mean, the reality is the big bugaboo of these systems like ours and others that have tried and gone away is that the inventory gradually begins to age. And then people sort of say, well, it's so old. And trying to make it really easy for people to keep it updated is hard.
Well, you and Paul have been working very hard on that, and people, I think, probably take it for granted simply because they don't understand everything that goes into a project like this. But the benefits are really going to help the fastener industry. I'm confident about that, and I look forward to seeing lots of people at the show, and we can discuss it in detail there.
Yes, please stop by. There'll be a little bit of pain along the way. We have to upgrade our servers actually sometime in the next couple of weeks to make it so that this whole process works even better. But it'll be only for 2 hours or so.
Well, we're doing that server build out for you.
Right.
Now, you've been fooling around with another app lately with regard to the big show, and that's their show app. What do they call this thing, Bri?
Well, it's an app. I found it last year. It's called Guidebook, and it exists both for the iPhone and for Android devices.
And what does this thing do?
Well, it's like it's a portable guide. Instead of having to carry around the book, which is published, a little bit before time and may get a bit out of date by the time the show comes up, this is a guide so that you can always find out, you can do a search for a company that you're interested in. It'll tell you what booth they're in, a little bit about them. It's very simple in what it tries to do, but it's basically a means of looking at where any company is, okay?
Now, has this thing been updated for the 2012 version of the show?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what you have to do. You download an app. It's called Guidebook. You can tell it because it has it's a light blue with a big white G on it. And then when you've downloaded it, there's a bar button across the top says, download, click to download guides. And then up comes a list of all the guides. They're the public ones, or public trade shows. But if you click a button on the bottom that says click redeem code, then you can go through all of the ones that are not listed publicly. And you put a redeem code in the case, and it's NIFME 2012, and it'll load up the guidebook.
Hang on a sec. What's the code?
NIFME 2012.
Okay.
Now, I should say, Susan Hurley's going to send out an email notifying people about this, okay?
Okay, that's good. I'll never remember that.
No, it's worth it, and it's got it has, the meetings that are taking place, and you can click on them and say, I want to be there, and it sets up an appointment for you on your phone, and it's quite an interesting, quite general, but a good little app, okay? And very handy to have if you're going to spend, more than half an hour at the show. So that's called Guidebook.
Very cool. Well, I think those guys are on the right track by including this in the show, and I'm definitely going to play around with it this year. Last year, I relied on you, and man, that was a disaster.
Yeah, well, I didn't really need to know where they were, did I? I was never going to see them anyway.
I don't think I saw you 5 minutes last year at the show. That's
right.
Okay, well, onward and upward. We're each going to have our mobile devices with the show app, and I think this is going to be the best show ever. What do you say?
Yep, it is.
Now, we got dialed into another show. This was a regional show, a tabletop, and it just happened. And if this is any indicator, then the Vegas show is going to be a real big one. I was talking to Nancy Montesano. She's the administrator / executive director of the Metropolitan Fastener Distributors Association. And this is a group that we have not really had too much to do with in the past, Bri, but man, I think we've got to get connected with these guys because their tabletop had something over 65 exhibitors. Sounds like a real success.
Huh. Isn't that the one that Simi was at?
Yeah, they had a meeting recently, and she was a speaker out there, and we had a meeting actually in the Chicago area that night with a few NFDA people. I was wondering if Simi would be there, but she had a prior engagement, and this was it. So, these guys are kind of flying high, and I was really glad to make Nancy's acquaintance. Again, that tabletop was a success. Then they had their annual golf outing that happened on September 23rd. It was their 17th annual. Happened out at Wild Turkey Golf Course in Crystal Springs, New Jersey. And actually, I got the winner of that. Hang on, what did she say? It was Lee S. Johnson Associates won the tournament, in case you're keeping score at home, folks. But, yeah, this is a great organization. In fact, she kind of jokingly told me that they call this the quintessential fastener association on the East Coast. So,
With a name like Metropolitan. Okay.
Yes. It's very chic, and I was glad to talk to them, and so we'll be hearing, I think, a little bit more out of the MFDA in upcoming episodes. If you're looking for additional information about the Metropolitan Fastener Distributors Association, go to their website. That's at mfda.us. And I think one of the reasons that maybe previously we hadn't had more to do with these guys is because every time I saw that, I thought of muscular dystrophy. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either. That's not a very close connection, okay?
I don't know. It's one of these, I guess, like a kind of borderline dyslexia condition maybe I have.
Okay.
So where this came up in a recent conversation was we've been having all these dinners with all these fastener people lately. And last week we had dinner with Rich Cavoto of Metric and Multi-Standard, and another guy who will go unnamed, who's a heavyweight in the fastener industry. But Rich was telling us that after a big meeting he was going to run off to the golf outing and then up to the tabletop. So amazing how all these roads lead.
To golf or to tabletops?
I was thinking more to fastener companies.
Oh, okay. Right.
But golf leads to fasteners. Fasteners leads to golf. Golf leads to beer. It's a vicious circle, Bri.
I know. Yeah. You just can't get away from it.
One thing that was kind of cool was when we were having dinner with Rich, he broke out his smartphone and he had this picture on his phone of an x-ray of his shoulder. And he dislocated his shoulder years and years ago, I guess playing football. And he had actually a bolt put right into his shoulder. I mean, you remember this?
Yeah, no, right.
And at first I thought he was showing us some kind of a gimmick because, the x-ray looks just like an x-ray should. And then all of a sudden it's got like this cartoon bolt on the top of it. But it was real. Man, that was crazy.
Destined for the fastener industry after that.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder if it's metric.
Oh, I would think not.
Next time I see Rich, I'm going to have to ask him about that. Imagine. He'll have to have it replaced,
Right.
What would that be, like an M2?
It looked a little bigger than that to me.
Okay. Well, it was certainly interesting. Hopefully he'll have that at the Vegas show and we can take another glimpse. So he was actually at the MFDA golf outing, as I understand it, and we'll have to see how he did. His shoulder was giving him some troubles, and now I understand why, but hopefully he's feeling a little bit better.
Right.
And speaking of shoulders, you were having some shoulder issues of your own, and you were at the chiropractor earlier when we were going to talk to Ruth Dowling and Cris Young of Wi-Fi. So I had to record the next segment without you, buddy. How's that shoulder doing?
Well, it's given me a little trouble. Though I do not have a bolt stuck through mine, okay? Maybe that would have been very helpful.
See, I was just going to ask you. You're reading my mind.
We do have to find out from Rich exactly what bolt they stuck through, okay?
Well, folks, we're going to be out there in Vegas. We're going to be in booth 1715. So if you have some ideas for a perfect sized bolt for Brian's arm, maybe you can stop by and help us out. But you were not, again, able to join in on the conversation that I had with the Wi-Fi gals, so I guess we're going to have to cut over and play that now. What do you think, Bri?
Yeah, I think so.
The industry is gearing up for this year's rendition of the Vegas Fastener Show, and joining us now are two board members from Women in the Fastener Industry, otherwise known as Wi-Fi. They're presenting another in their line of featured speaker meetings in connection with the show. Ruth Dowling and Cris Young are Wi-Fi board members. Welcome to Fully Threaded, ladies.
Thanks a lot for having us here, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. We're glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you guys. We've had other Wi-Fi people on the show, as you, I'm sure, know, and you've got a big event coming up. A lot of good developments with Wi-Fi, too. I hope you can fill us in on here. And, Cris, why don't we start with you? You're with Hudson Fasteners. You operate out of Canfield, Ohio, and you've been involved with Wi-Fi from the very beginning, haven't you?
Yeah, actually, Eric, I have. A great bunch of women getting together to just basically to go out there and help other women in the industry. Mentor them, network with them, whatever it is they need. We're going to be there for them. So our Vegas show is going to be really big this year. We have Sandy Cardillo. She's going to speak to us about leadership for women. Sandy comes from Conrad Associates. And, we're really looking forward to it. That's going to be held at the Sands Expo, room 304 on Wednesday from 2 to 4. And right before that, we're going to have our annual business meeting. So it's a big day for Wi-Fi.
That's October 10th, which is the Wednesday before the first day that the show floor is open, correct?
That is correct, Eric, yes.
Well, there's a lot of happenings that day, and this sounds like a perfect thing right in the middle of the day to capture everybody's attention. Now, Ruth, you've been also with Wi-Fi for a long time, and what are you going to be doing in connection with this meeting?
Yeah, that's right. Like Cris said, we have the business meeting, which starts at 1 o'clock, Wednesday, October 10th, room 304 in the Sands Expo. And then after that, we have our annual Vegas meeting, which consists of, like Cris said, the speaker on leadership, as well as a networking session.
Yeah, we also have a big raffle this year. We're giving away an iPad 2. And there's a couple of other really great prizes, so we're hoping everybody's going to join us, buy some raffle tickets, help support our scholarships.
Now, I know you're putting a lot of effort into the scholarship project. What's the structure of the Wi-Fi scholarship program, Cris?
Well, we have two scholarships. One is in the name of Ann Walls from Fastener Industry News, and the other one is in the name of Edith Cameron, who is a longtime fastener industry employee. And so the Ann Wall Scholarship, I do believe will be for somebody to attend the IFI or the Fastener Training programs. And then the Edith Cameron Scholarship is to be determined at a later date as far as what program that's going to affect.
Well, I know you're just kind of getting off the ground with those programs, and you'll probably have a lot of refinements as time goes on. But I tell you, those iPads are probably going to attract quite a bit of interest because they are great pieces of equipment. So,
yep, that's what we're hoping, Eric. We'll also be at booth 1504, of course, on the floor. So we hope everybody stops by to see us there as well.
And can people participate in the raffle from your booth as well, or do they have to come to the meeting?
I believe that's a meeting-only raffle, so we'll want to get them there for sure.
Okay, well, there's another incentive for everybody. That's room 304 at the Sands, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we have to keep repeating that. The website for the Wi-Fi group, for people who really want to follow up on this and get more information, is fastenerwomen.com.
That's right, fastenerwomen.com. And the website is, while still being worked on, it's not really fully developed yet, but you'll find all the applications you need there for our mentoring programs, our scholarship programs, just sign up at the website.
Now, Ruth, you were telling me before we were recording that a new mission statement for Wi-Fi has been developed, and can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, the mission really always has been to educate women. We are an all-women group that is founded by women for women, and our main purpose really is to educate and mentor and give opportunities for women to be able to come together so that they can be better fastener business women. And the recent achievement that I'd like to let you know about is that we've achieved not-for-profit status. And that is really a demonstration of the heavy emphasis that the Wi-Fi Association puts on education. The IRS would not allow us to operate under not-for-profit unless we had thoroughly demonstrated that that's our mission and our purpose.
Okay. I was going to ask you about that because otherwise I was thinking, maybe I'd go for it too. But not making money is not the only requirement, so I'm out of luck.
Yeah, the money that we do take in, it is primarily driven towards funding our different education opportunities, such as the scholarship programs, which Cris had mentioned. We've also got a reduced fees for any of the events that Wi-Fi puts on. So, for example, when Sandy Cardillo comes to speak in Vegas about leadership, those who are members of the Wi-Fi Association would get a reduced entrance fee, and really the pull there is we want as many women as possible to get in and get a taste of what Sandy has to say regarding leadership. Everything's driven towards education.
I haven't heard you mention men at all in this conversation so far, so I'm just going to put it out there. I mean, men really like iPads. Men like women. Are men invited to this meeting?
That's a great question, Eric, and the answer is yes. That session from 2 to 4 in room 304 of the Sands Expo is definitely open to men as well as to women. I guess overall, the membership in the Wi-Fi Fastener Association would be restricted to women only, just again because of our mission of supporting and advancing women in the fastener industry.
But while we only do allow women to be members, we feel that any education that any woman receives or any networking or connections that are made will benefit whatever company that particular woman is working for as a whole, whether it be male-owned, female-owned, combination thereof. While we're gearing our program towards women, it will benefit everybody.
I could see that. I mean, the industry as a whole benefits when we have more competent people, regardless of their gender. So I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Out of curiosity, do you know this? Because I sure don't. Are the other associations in this industry, by and large, not-for-profits already, or do you not know?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know if you do, Cris.
Yeah, no, I actually don't know the answer to that either. Be interesting to find out, though, right?
It would. My guess would be that they are, but I really don't know. So what else sets Wi-Fi apart? Is there anything else that you want to point out?
Yeah, again, this is an association really built by women for women, and I think the difference here, aside from the obvious, of course, is that women think, talk, and behave differently than men do.
I've noticed that.
Have you? Yeah, I was going to say, for anybody who hasn't figured that out yet, there's a really good book out there called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So, at any rate...
there's a whole bunch of magazines available, too, for other people.
I suppose, yep. I'm not going down that path. But yeah, speaking in very... general terms, this is going to sound stereotypical, and it is, but generally speaking, men and women communicate differently, and we communicate for different reasons. And like for example, if you've got a woman in your life or a teenage daughter or something who spends gazillion hours on the phone, that's filling a need for that particular female. And you don't typically see men behaving that way, but it's something that women do. It fills a need for them, and so this is a particular characteristic of women that we are trying to address, really, and just reach out to women the way women like to communicate and work together with other women.
Understood. I think there's definitely a legitimate role for gender-specific organizations, and you're certainly filling it for ladies in this industry. So congratulations to you. We're definitely going to be watching as you continue moving and advancing and developing your vision of all this. We already said that the website for the Wi-Fi group is www.fastenerwomen.com. You can get more information about the upcoming meeting at the Vegas show, which is again on October 10th at 2 p.m. in room 304 over there at the Sands. Sandy Cardillo is the speaker. She's going to be talking about leadership. And you can also go to the fastenerwomen.com website to find out about membership options for you or ladies that operate in your company. So I know you're both going to the show for other reasons beside Wi-Fi. What kind of things are you going to be looking for out there, Cris? What are you going to be doing out there in Vegas this year?
Well, wouldn't I love to be out in Vegas this year?
No.
I personally will not be there.
No.
So I'm counting on all my fellow Wi-Fi members to carry the flag for me, so to speak. But I know they're going to have a great time out there. I'm sorry I will not be there, but there's always next year.
Okay, well, we'll be thinking about you, and I guess you'll have to live vicariously through our tweets.
I guess so. You got that right, Eric.
And your sisters in the fastener industry, I'm sure, will not disappoint you. Ruth, I know you'll be at the show with Ningbo Jinding, and you're in booth 1131 and 1132 this year. What have you got lined up for the show?
Yeah, well, aside from sneaking away from the booth to have a little bit of old rusty bolt down the way.
There you go.
The owner of Ningbo Jinding will be at the booth, so it's an opportunity for some of the folks who don't necessarily travel to Asia but are able to travel to Vegas to meet the owner of Ningbo Jinding, which is an interesting experience. He's quite a gentleman. And besides that, we're doing our own promotion, so to speak, which is after my own heart in the realm of whiskey and scotch. So if you'd like to jump on my website, www.jinding.us, you will find there a place where you can download a flyer, which would enter you into a drawing to win a 20-year-old bottle of Glenfiddich. So feel free to take a look, and if you're in Vegas, stop on by the booth, and we'll get you signed up.
Oh, this is not doing Cris any good right now. You realize?
I know.
This, Ruth.
I'm thinking to myself, Ruth, do you have to be present for this bottle or what?
Yeah, we want people to stop by our booth in Vegas, and that's how you get entered in the drawing. So, Cris, I'm sorry you're out of luck this year.
Oh, I might have to change my plans right away.
Well, the 21-year-old is the good stuff, so good choice on that one, Ruth.
Thanks, if I don't drink it all myself.
Actually, I don't think you're going to be allowed to. Show management put out a stern warning that they've got some pretty strict policies out there, so everybody be careful. Only go to sanctioned booze this year.
Yeah.
Ooh, traveling salesmen better watch out.
I think everybody's on the up and up, so I'm not worried. Well, ladies, it was great to hear from you. I'm so happy that you joined us for this segment, and we'll be seeing Wi-Fi ladies, if not you, Cris, at the Vegas show this year. And once again, that's October 10th at 2 p.m. in room 304 over at the Sands for the Wi-Fi meeting. And congratulations on this organization, ladies.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thanks a lot, Eric, and I'm looking forward to seeing you out there, and I'm a big fan of Fully Threaded Radio. I think you guys provide a valuable service, so keep it up.
Yeah, great job.
I sure do appreciate that. We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
Have you ever thought about what it's like to be a transformational leader? Hi, this is Sandy Cardillo, President of Conrad Associates. I'd like to welcome you to our conversation on women in leadership and evolving perspective during the Women in Fasteners Industry Gathering at the National Industrial Fastener and Supply Expo on Wednesday, October 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada. We will explore how women's approach to leadership has evolved into the present and thoughts on an emerging perspective for the 21st century work environment. Please join us for an interesting conversation and a great networking opportunity. For details, please visit www.fastenerwomen.com. I hope to see you there.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
This season, the House of Beacon is pleased to offer its latest collection of nice threads, the Beacon Machine Screw. Sleek and metallic, sturdy and sharp, the Beacon Machine Screw is a revolution in cutting-edge style and clean lines, offering a modern twist on classic proportions. As with all our collections, thread forming, thread cutting, high-low tapping, SEMS and sheet metal screws, the Beacon Machine Screw may also be complemented by a RoHS-compatible coat, an absolute must in Europe and all other discerning corners of the globe. Don't be the last member of your industry to use Beacon Machine Screws. Call 800-669-2658 to request a full catalogue of all our nice threads. Or have one of our highly polished representatives assist you in finding your unique size and style. And should you fail to find the piece that suits you perfectly, Beacon Fasteners will proudly tailor it to your exact specifications. Be the envy of all your competitors with stylish new Beacon Machine Screws. Beacon Fasteners and Components. Nice threads.
Hi, Bob O'Brien of Certified Products in Chicago. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio, the largest proponent of free beer in the fastener industry.
Brian and Eric, back with you. Single Malt Fastener Radio.
Oh, this is a new one.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Ruth's on the right track, raffling off that 21-year-old Glenfiddich. You know, that's a great idea. I applaud it.
Right. That's worse whiskeys to be drinking too.
Oh, yeah. And she knows her stuff, you know. We had a chance to share notes when we were down at the CIFA conference this spring. We were down in Birmingham. Oh, one thing that she pointed out to me, you'll be interested to hear. She told me that Queen Elizabeth's favorite single malt is Glenrothe, which is one of your favorites as well.
Wow, I didn't know that Liz had a favourite one. I mean, she has her crown stuck on quite a few scotches, actually.
Well, I wouldn't really know anything about that, but just passing it along.
Yeah, it always says by appointment, okay, which means that if Liz is entertaining, then one of their whiskies is in the liquor cabinet and in the palace.
And somehow she looks like she could put a few away. I don't know.
Oh, you have to be careful what you say with things like that, okay? It'll be getting as bad as these French tabloids next.
Hey, man, I'm an American. And speaking of American, you know, we've been talking a lot about the big Vegas show coming up, and we should probably remind everybody that there's another show to start thinking about, and that's the All-American Fastener Show.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the show being run by Heidi Voltrauer of Volt Industrial Plastics. A lot of you will remember this as the Branson Show. Last year it was canceled because they had problems down there due to the weather, and they had some severe weather actually, but the show was canceled in 2012, and in 2013 it's been moved to Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I've never been to Kansas City, Missouri, so I'll be certainly trying to get there.
Yes, this is one of the few places on the planet where you haven't been, Brian. I think many fully threaded listeners have probably taken aback when you even said that.
Yeah, I admit I've never, ever been to Kansas City, Missouri. Okay.
Well, this year's rendition of the All-American Fastener Show is happening at the Intercontinental Hotel at the Plaza in Kansas City, Missouri. That's Wednesday, May 8th and Thursday, May 9th, 2013. The details can all be seen at the website www.allamericanfastenershow.com.
Okay, well, we'll be certainly there anyway.
Well, she runs a great show. The Branson Show was a fantastic one by all accounts. I know you were down there a couple of times. It was just a little hard to get to, and hopefully this is going to make a really, really good alternative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing I know about Kansas City, and I know you're a big fan of this, is that they supposedly have really, really good barbecue there.
Yes, I'm told that, which is a really good reason to go, other than to look at lots of very interesting nuts and bolts, okay?
Thanks for keeping us on topic, Bri.
Thank you. I do this quite a lot.
Hey, one thing on Heidi's website that you'll see, again, that's at allamericanfastenershow.com. She's actually got a poll question that's asking where should the 2015 version of the All-American Fastener Show be held. And the choices are Kansas City, Nashville, St. Louis, and Memphis. And I suggest strongly, if you're interested in the show, or if you're interested in seeing another strong regional show in the industry, then get out to her website and participate in the survey.
Right. And you may wish to be choosing those cities based on other great barbecue cities too.
Good point, Bri.
Right.
Well, another fastener guy who's out and about abroad enjoying all that the fastener industry has to offer is Mike McNulty, and he's currently in China at Wire China 2012. And those of you who have been keeping abreast of his movements via Twitter will see that his hashtag Beer Cam Friday Nights has been replete with various Chinese beers lately, and man, it's exciting. So he's staying away from the Chinese barbecue. I don't know if that's well advised or not, Bri.
Some of it's all right.
But we'll be hearing from him in just a moment with the Fastener News Report. And right before that, why don't we take a moment to thank our sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio. And the title sponsors are Stelfast and Beacon Fasteners and Components. Also, Volt Industrial Plastics is the sponsor of the Fastener News Report, along with Fastener Technology International Magazine.
Thanks to all of you.
Absolutely. And thanks to each one of you for listening to Fully Threaded Radio. We really do appreciate it. And we thank you also for sharing the show with your friends, associates, coworkers, and so forth. Here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Brian and Eric, and greetings to all the Fully Threaded Radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. My calendar is loaded down with lots of business travel over the next 3 weeks. I'm starting out with 2 wire industry trade shows and finishing up at the Las Vegas Fastener Show next month. Both of the wire product shows, one in China and the other in the Chicagoland area, have a fair amount of fastener making content, so it will be easy for me to stay focused on the fastener industry while I rack up over 19,000 frequent flyer miles. So here is today's Fastener News Report. In our top story, we're going to hear about Beacon Fasteners expanding its partnership with InSequel distribution software. In addition, we have some newsmaker headlines from Illinois Toolworks, Barnes Distribution, Big Red Fasteners, Indiana Automotive Fasteners, Select Fasteners Fast, and Women in the Fastener Industry. We also have a back page report on China. We will get to all of that and the Beacon Fastener story right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
You're listening to Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report on Fully Threaded Radio.
Established in 1979 and based in Wheeling, Illinois, Beacon Fasteners and Components is a reliable source for stock thread forming screws, thread cutting screws, high-low tapping screws, sheet metal tapping screws, machine screws, and SEM screws. InSequel is a fully integrated ERP system designed specifically for wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, reps, and industrial sellers. InSequel software was originally written for fastener distributors, and the company continues to work within the fastener industry to deliver new functions. An example of this work is a new cost savings tool that is the result of the expanded partnership between Beacon Fasteners and InSequel. Starting in the first quarter of 2013, InSequel customers will be able to use the Direct Connect feature of InSequel to access Beacon's current fastener inventory levels and pricing while building orders directly from their InSequel software. To get some more information on this partnership, we talked with Joe Poplinski, VP of Operations at Beacon Fasteners and Components. Hi, Joe. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hey, greetings. Thank you for allowing us to tell a little more of the Beacon story and how we are continuing to try to push the envelope on helping our customers save money in ways that others may sometimes overlook, I guess.
Yeah, it's, this new feature that you're working with InSequel sounds to me like it's shortening the process of purchasing fasteners or sourcing fasteners for your customers. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It really, truly helps us help our customers from the standpoint that unlike the traditional, call them third-party websites, where the customer may have to go to a site, identify the parts they're looking for, build that purchase order on somebody else's website, and then get off from that website and dual enter that into whatever ERP system they're running. The Direct Connect within SQL allows us to put all of the benefits, the functionality of searching for parts online without that dual entry. So essentially, the SQL customers are going to be working right in their software, looking for parts, whether they're building POs or just doing item inquiries. With one click, they'll dial in or they'll basically access the beacon information, whether it's inventory, availability, pricing, and so on and so forth. And at that point, they can essentially build their purchase order within their own system once again and have the parts on order, which that is electronically fed into our system. And essentially, again, take all the benefits of buying parts online without that dual entry. So again, we're extremely excited about that because we know that more and more customers are working with Wiener and Wiener staffs, and how can we help that customer procure products with maybe the same headcount, maybe in some cases a smaller headcount. So, and we think this is one very feasible way for us to help that customer, that in-sequel customer, procure products that fall into our category anyways.
So the information that they're accessing, this is real-time information. It's not where they request information and have to wait. They get it instantly. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. They're building their purchase orders or they're looking for information on parts, and with that one click, they're accessing our live data. So it's real-time, and again, it takes that paper process and greatly reduces it, if not completely eliminating it in some situations.
And even if you're saving, just a minute or two or a couple minutes here and there, you're doing that all day over several people over several days. It can amount to a significant amount of cost savings as well as convenience for the user.
Yeah, exactly. The convenience is a huge portion of this because we have a lot of our customers that their salespeople are constantly sourcing items, quoting to their customers. This allows, again, from the sales side at our customer base, they can look at the parts, find the availability, find the price associated with that customer from Beacon, and their salespeople can basically quote their customer, their end user, on the fly without ever having to leave the in-sequel software that they're running.
Now, you guys mentioned that this is an expansion of an existing partnership. How long have you guys been working with in-sequel, and what is some of the other functions that you guys do together?
Yeah, in-sequel has been our software, our ERP supplier for a number of years now, 6 or 7 years, I would say, and they have been an extremely flexible company to do business with, and we've seen significant improvements with the way they have helped us run our business, from lot control information to warehouse functions to giving us more access to real-time data within our system itself. So it's a continuing to evolve relationship that they keep helping us, and we keep hopefully helping them identify other functionality that becomes a integral part of their program, of their software.
Now I see that this feature is available in the beginning of 2013 in the first quarter. So I'm going to go out on a limb and imagine this will be something you guys are going to be talking about in Las Vegas at the Fastener Show. Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of in-sequel users across the country that we do business with today, and we've started to lay the groundwork a little bit, as have the in-sequel folks. But definitely in Vegas, we would expect to have some more detailed conversations. And again, there's some things that Beacon has to do behind the scenes to make it even easier to use tool for our customers. And part of that is the customer part number cross-reference, which we stand ready to do. And we'll start that process as our customers express the interest and feed us their part numbers and such. But between now and Vegas, we hope to identify a handful, 2 or 3 beta customers that we can really start the testing process. And through the remainder of the year, I would say we would finish all of the behind-the-scenes activities that we need. So come the first quarter, we're ready to go live with any of the in-sequel customers that are wanting to use this functionality to do business. Very good. Now, I want to mention to listeners that you're joining us from an airport, so you're out there traveling. And I thought, while we've got you on the phone, what can you tell us about the pulse of the fastener industry right now?
Beacon's been traveling a tremendous amount this year, and up until really June, July, virtually all customers, small, medium, large folks, were really rather optimistic about the environment. As of late, as of the last couple months or quarter, that sentiment has toned down a little bit, nothing dramatic, no earth-shattering news that we're uncovering anyways, but people just seem to be a little bit more reserved with regards to their outlook. It's definitely affected their buying activities from the standpoint that they're just simply buying less product. They're still buying the frequency, or actually the frequency's gone up a little bit, but it seems like they're really watching their inventory levels very tightly these days. So outside of that, again, most of the customers are still rather optimistic. There's still, a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, but nobody's running for those by any stretch. And on the other side, nobody's really setting the world on fire either. So it's kind of like we've up through the first 6 months or so of the year, and then have plateaued at that level and haven't necessarily fallen backwards. But that steady growth that we saw through the first 6 or 7 months of the year has slowed down. It clearly hasn't stopped, but it's maybe just taken a little bit of a breather, hopefully.
Yeah, it's the things that are kind of stabilizing, which kind of reflects what we reported on in the last episode on Fully Threaded Radio, that Fastener Distributor Index stabilized. So that's pretty much the same thing what you're seeing out there out on the road. So, well, hopefully things will improve a little bit, and we'll get a peak. We'll start a peak again in the last quarter with maybe kicked off with the Las Vegas show.
Yep, we're definitely looking forward to it, and it's obviously always a great event for us to get together with a tremendous amount of customers and suppliers.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, and good luck with this expanded partnership and cost savings tool. It sounds like it's definitely a good idea, taking advantage of tools that are available out there to help people get their fasteners quicker and cheaper.
Yep, that's exactly what we're looking forward to do.
That was Joe Ploplinski of Beacon Fasteners. Next up, today's top fastener newsmaker headlines. About 20 people will lose their jobs when ITW Waterbury Buckle, ITW Plastigide, and ITW Military Products all cease operations by the end of this year. These three business units are located in the same Illinois Tool Works building in Waterbury, Connecticut. In related news at the corporate level, ITW is considering shedding some other business units representing up to 25% of their sales. Earlier this year, the company sold a laminates business and a paint finishing unit for nearly $2 billion. Illinois Tool Works has 800 business units, including one that makes fasteners. Barnes Distribution has added more than 4,000 new products to its list of regularly stocked items. These are featured in the company's new 2012-2013 Master Print Catalog. Barnes distributes maintenance, repair, and operating supplies, including fasteners and fastener systems. Big Red Fasteners is expanding for the fourth time since the company opened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2001. Owners Shauna and Jerry Clark moved the company to Broken Arrow, Oklahoma in 2004, and they continue to outgrow every building that they move into. The company supplies bolts, screws, studs, nuts, washers, and anchors, and it has an additional location in Longview, Texas. Indiana Automotive Fasteners plans to add 25 new workers to its Greenfield, Indiana headquarters over the next 2 years, taking the company to more than 400 employees. The supplier of automotive nuts, bolts, and screws needs the extra workers to keep up with growing demand. Over the next 2 or 3 years, the company will increase daily production from 13,500 containers, or about 7 million fasteners, to 15,000 containers per day. Select Fasteners Fast, an automotive fastener distributor based in Kentwood, Michigan, is celebrating 25 years in business by donating a quarter of its September profits to help feed local children in need. Owner Kyle Hansen says that the last year was the company's best year in 15 years, and this year is going to be even better. With revenues climbing every quarter, the company is adding a sales team, and it is looking to grow its customer base beyond western Michigan. And our top fastener newsmaker headline is that the Women in the Fastener Industry nonprofit organization, also known as Wi-Fi, will hold its third annual speaker series and networking event at the Las Vegas Fastener Show on Wednesday, October 10th, 2012. The featured speaker will be Sandra Cardillo, president of Conrad Associates, and the title of her presentation is Women in Leadership and Evolving Perspective. In addition to the presentation and the networking opportunities, Wi-Fi will raffle some nice prizes, including an iPad and an e-reader. Women and men in the fastener industry are welcome to attend this Wi-Fi event. Visit fastenerwomen.com for details. Finally, let's turn to the back page for my on-site report on China, recorded live in Shanghai.
Shanghai is home to 23 million people and thousands of visitors attending the Wire China 2012 trade show for wire, cable, and wire product industries, including fastener manufacturers. This is my fourth trip to Shanghai since 2004, and I can confirm that growth this year has slipped to 7.5%, down from its 9.5% average over the previous 32 years. This large drop has caused some economic pain in the world's largest country, but the relative growth here is still astonishing compared to Western standards. On the fastener side, my Chinese sales agent, Kelly Yuan, says that fastener manufacturing has suffered in 2012. She estimates that 10% of the 1,000 or so fastener manufacturers in China have closed in the last year because of lower general manufacturing activity throughout the country. In my view, China is dynamic, overwhelming, admirable, and contradictory all at the same time. Some of my general observations include the following. There are fewer bicycles on the street this year, replaced by more motorized scooters and cars from dozens of international makers. Intellectual property is still not respected, and copies are rampant everywhere in retail products and manufacturing goods. The Chinese standard of living is clearly on the rise, and Chinese people like to work and compete. Young people, especially those that are 35 years old and younger, are interested in appearances, style, experiences, material goods, and Western lifestyles. Government manipulation is everywhere, from its one-child policy to its recent $2.7 trillion in stimulus spending. The cost of housing and cars are extremely high in Shanghai, $36,000 for a VW Beetle, and $500,000 for a 3-bedroom condo with 1,000 square feet of living space. So in conclusion, China's strange mix of communism, socialism, and market economy is still producing incredible results, but I remain skeptical of its ability to maintain this wild expansion rate, and I don't like government domination of business activity and social life. China is formidable in many areas, but not invincible. Its strengths are seen in its sheer numbers of people and companies and their willingness to work. Weaknesses include a lack of innovation and little or no respect for natural laws of competition. Depending on your perspective, China can be a good partner, a good competitor, or both.
This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com. The October issue of Fastener Technology International, featuring a preview of the Las Vegas show, and a lot of other fastener content, can be read online at fastenertech.com.
Up next, in alphabetical order, it's Greg Wiener and Julee Mortensen. Wait a second, is that... It's Fully Threaded Radio, folks.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
This is John Walkman of Desert Distribution Sales in Scottsdale, Arizona. I want to invite you and all of my fastener friends to join us for the Pacific West Fastener Association Fall Conference to be held here at the beautiful Scottsdale Resort and Conference Center on November 8th through 10th. The conference is packed with content that will help guide your business through the coming year. Please visit pac-west.org for details. The weather here in the high Sonoran Desert is always perfect in early November. The conference is based in the heart of Scottsdale and close to some of the best shopping, golf, and Western heritage that's made Scottsdale the West's most Western town. So don't forget to vote on November 6th, then head out to Scottsdale for the Pac West Fastener Association Fall Conference. I expect to see you there.
Murray with AccuTight Fasteners, your source for VMI on the West Coast. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Regular Fully Threaded listeners know that we haven't been shy on the podcast about stating our opinions on topics we feel are important, even when they're a little touchy. And while we've generated a fair amount of conversation in doing so, it's always been our goal to maintain open communication with people who hold varying views to our own. In that spirit, and because we're in the midst of a momentous election season, we decided to invite two representatives from the fastener industry, each with opposing views on the upcoming contest, to join us for a discussion. We hope this conversation stimulates further thought on this very important matter. Our first guest is the principal of Lucky 13 Fastener Sales, which operates in the greater Chicagoland area. She has over 32 years of experience in the fastener field, and she's supporting the president's re-election this time around. She's Julee Mortensen. Hi, Julie.
Hi. How are you?
Outstanding. Hey, it was great to meet you in person last night at the MWFA meeting.
Yeah, it really was, because we've talked and emailed, but never got to meet each other. So it was very nice meeting you also.
Absolutely. And we first met in reality on Twitter, and that was actually how I got wind of your political leanings as well. We're not shy about making it known that you're supporting President Obama and a lot of, let's say, Democrat-leaning types of issues. And I sure do thank you for your authenticity out there, and it was good to meet you that way as well.
Same here. Thank you.
And on the other side of the issue, I guess I could say in the red trunks, Fully Threaded listeners have heard Quick Screws International CEO Greg Wiener on the podcast several times before. Greg makes no bones about it. He's staunchly in the constitutional conservative camp, and he's here again to talk with us. Hi, Greg Wiener.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Hi, Julie. How you doing today?
Okay, how are you, Greg?
Terrific. Thanks.
You know, before we get too deep into the meat and potatoes of the subject at hand, and this is probably fairly relevant to what we're going to discuss. Julie, let's start with you. What are you seeing out there, say, in the last 2 years or so that sets the stage for the political context we're viewing right now?
Well, you know, I've been in a couple places for the last couple of years, and The economy is fairly, it's getting better, but the economy, the unemployment, there's a lot of other issues, and there's a lot of issues as far as personal issues that have to be covered with men and women and rights. And being on the liberal side, I try to get everybody who's involved. So there's a lot of people involved in this election. It's really a big one.
It sure is very hard to get your arms around all the issues at times. I totally agree with that. Let me refine the question a little bit for you, though, and ask you again, in terms of the fastener industry over the last 2 years, how do you think that is kind of relevant to what we're looking at politically now?
Well, I've worked at manufacturers for the last 20 years, and in order to keep the manufacturing aspect here in the United States, we need to do some things. We have to make sure that we keep our people working, that we keep our product in the United States and overseas. But again, I'm a big one for Buy America and keep American products in America, keep our people working and not sending jobs overseas.
Greg, how about you? What have you seen in the last 2 years, fastener-wise, that kind of sets the stage for you for this election and the way you're thinking about it?
Well, just as you said, we're complete opposites. I'm an importer and have been for 20 plus years. However, I do think that importing creates jobs and distribution creates jobs. So I'm not exactly on the same level as Julie. I will say this, though. Politics affects our industry like every single one because, unfortunately, politics tends to intervene. And the intervention itself is what causes problems in business, especially small business owners like myself.
And you hear a lot of that all throughout the fastener industry. Well, that dovetails really into the first question that we discussed as something that we wanted to cover in this segment. And Julie, let's pass it back to you. Do you think, in general, that it's appropriate or correct for us to be even discussing politics on a Fastener Talk radio show?
You know, it was funny because I mentioned that we were going to be doing this, and there were a lot of people that were surprised that you took this task on. But, you know, it's like Greg said, politics is into everything. And I think sometimes you have to just put it out there and let people, you know, see what everybody is thinking and go from there. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Greg, we've covered this in previous conversations that we've had with you on the show because, let's face it, you're a firebrand. What's your opinion on that subject?
You know, as usual, I'm definitely, I'm going to have to agree with Julie 100% on this, is that, you know, the impact of politics and government on our business it's real. It's evident. And, you know, we actually, Julie and I, we have the same goals. We worry about people. We worry about the future of people. We worry about employment, and politics affects all that. So clearly it's appropriate, and I think it's necessary because if we the people don't talk about it together, we may share different viewpoints, but I actually think we're on the same side because I don't think it's conservative versus liberal. I actually think it's the people versus the politicians. So, you know, we may end up at the end of this conversation totally agreeing with each other, although we may have disparate views.
Well, I think that's going to be very likely, and I'd just like to interject an editorial comment at this point and say that the sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio, I really appreciate their willingness to let us run with this. I don't think anybody ever makes the mistake in thinking that the views of the Fully Threaded team are necessarily those of our sponsors. However, they let us roll, and I think that they share your views on that. So thanks for your comments. Let's get serious now. Julie?
Mm-hmm.
What is this election all about?
Well, the economy, unemployment, being on the liberal side of it, I also have to look at it at women's choices, and living with people that you love and want to share your life with. I also think that there's a lot in the federal government that with the lobbyists and the filibusters, you just end up wasting time, wasting the people's time. And a lot of times, too, you have people that they agree on getting something done, but because it's a different party, they just take and they expand and expand. And I was reading in a book that it usually takes 7 to 10 days for a law to get passed or a bill to get passed. But because of all the filibusters and all the lobbying, it's taking 30 to 40 days. Now that's ridiculous. That's wasting money. So that's an issue that I have there. I also think that the corporation should be paying the same taxes that I pay. Being a small business and I'm a one-person business, I don't really have to pay an employer or pay for health care. So I don't know that part of it. But as far as health care goes, I've always had to pay my health insurance. My husband's always had to pay his health insurance. So if there's a way to better that, fine. And there are a lot of people that don't carry. I have friends carrying insurance because they can't afford it. So if there's something that can become affordable for these people, I think that should be an option for them. As far as the veterans go, I mean, those people are risking their lives, and we don't want to support them. But I grew up in the era of Vietnam, and I think they got the short end of the stick there. But I think a lot of it is that we have to have a government that works. It works with each other, bipartisan. I was at a meeting this morning with local government, and I was happy to be in there because Republicans and Democrats, they were trying to get something done. And I think that's what we need. I think that's the big key. We need to work together to get things done, not fight each other, not try to get the black man out of the White House. So, those are some of the issues that I'm concerned about.
Okay, so you've got a wide variety of issues, and you've also, it sounds like you've got a concern that things need to get done. I'm inferring here that that's going to involve compromise that you'd like to see, and you'd like to see things happen faster. And I'm going to guess I'll infer another thing in a more fair way. Right.
I think we just need to move forward and to get things done instead of just trying to make it hard for everybody. It doesn't do anything for anybody.
Got it. Well, Greg Wiener, from your perspective, how do you capsulize what is this election all about?
I've thought a lot about this question over the past year even, and to me it's pretty clear cut that there's some obvious choices, and it from my viewpoint it barrels down to big government versus limited government and what the role and structure and size of government should be. As a conservative, I'm always looking towards leaving the power in the hands of the people and allowing markets and free will and free economies to work best. I do agree with Julie on one thing she said, and that is that the local governments tend to work best. And I agree with that. The local governments is where we have the most access to the politicians. The further and further that government gets away from us, the less impact we have on them. And then it opens the doors for things like lobbyists and such. When big government, big business, and big unions get together, that spells big trouble for the people. And so there are some differences in our approaches to our feelings, but to me this is a very simplistic thing. The current president believes in bigger government. The government should be bigger. It should be more interactive with the people, and the candidate does not. So I think those are clear choices, and people are going to have to make up their minds as to how they feel about that.
So then to summarize, limited government is really how you'd say it.
Yeah, I call it limited government.
What's the benefit of limited government, Greg, that leads you to say that? Why do you think limited government? I mean, with limited government, you can't do a lot of the programs and things that people seem to want. So why is that so critical to you?
Well, I think that the federal government is encroaching into areas that are historically local and state roles. Okay, federal government historically, before the creation of the Department of Education, had no role at all in funding education. The local governments were controlling that with the state governments. And I think if you look at the situation in education today, I don't necessarily believe that the involvement of the federal government has made it better. I think it's worse. So for me, limited government doesn't mean no government. It just means government that's closer to the people that can actually be more accountable to us.
Got it. And I guess you would take the example of the education department and apply it to commerce or really anything else that in your opinion, it's really not necessary at the federal level.
Again, there are certain areas of by the Constitution, the federal government has responsibilities. Their responsibilities are detailed out and they're enumerated. Security, defense, those are clearly roles and responsibility of the federal government. Okay, we have a system in place where we have a safety net. You have the Social Security and Medicare, and that's deemed appropriate, and that's the role of the federal government to manage. So, clearly the federal government has more than enough of its constitutional responsibilities. Pushing more and more onto the federal government, having the federal government get bigger and bigger, further away from the people, I don't think that's working out so well for us.
Okay, so now let's give both of you a chance to explain what it is about your candidate that seems to support the ideas that you support. So, Greg, why don't you shoot first on this one? What is Mr. Romney doing or saying that he's going to do that support that limited government approach? I mean, why vote for him?
Well, I'm not on his campaign team, but I'm on the team that says, we're in a dire situation. The economy has effectively ground to a standstill. I mean, we're about a 1% GDP, 1 to 1.7% GDP. Taxing and spending hasn't really done anything to alleviate the unemployment problem. The long-term unemployment is very scary. 23 million unemployed is just a number that's unbelievable. That that means pretty much everybody knows somebody who's unemployed. I just firmly believe that with Mitt Romney's experience in actually fixing things, he's a technocrat. He's a little bit stiff. He doesn't have the greatest personality in the world. But I actually believe that he will fix things, and he will compromise. He proved that as governor of Massachusetts. He worked with a completely, I think it was 87% Democratic Assembly and Senate. So he will compromise. There's no doubt about it. There's no mistake. He's actually, I would not call him a conservative. But I think he has a better chance of righting the ship, turning it around, and putting us back on the upward track, which I don't believe we're on.
Julee Mortensen, you're supporting Mr. Obama. Why don't you tee off on the reasons why?
First off, he ended up getting stuck with a big deficit that Bush left him. If he hadn't gotten in there, we probably would have had a recession. Clinton left with a surplus. Bush got us really deep into a hole. And I mean, even on our own basis, if you spend a lot of money, sometimes it takes you a while to get that paid off, if you redo your kitchen or whatever. So for somebody like Barack Obama to come in there with all this money that we owed everybody and tax cuts for the rich, and so he has to write it. Yeah, unemployment is still down, but after 8 years of screw ups, he's got to try to do this in 4 years now. I mean, we're on the right track. He's trying to do things. But you still got a lot of the other government that's not working with him. And I think another thing is he understands the plight of the people. I don't think Romney does. I think Romney has always been handed everything. Look at what he did. He was, worked for accounting firms and he took people's jobs and basically, I worked for a couple companies where they come in, lean and mean, and they get rid of everybody. Well, those people are still out of work. And President Obama is trying to help everybody and still keep Medicare and Social Security and everything for the older people, help the veterans. And Romney wants to give more tax credits to the rich and cut everybody else off. I really think that Obama is trying to do a good job. I think he understands the plight of the people, and I think he will, get us going forward.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in on something that was said there. Let me dispute that version of the events. Wow, where do I start? So, first off, the recession, which is a near depression, was caused by the housing bust, which was something in the works for the past 30 years. It did happen on Bush's watch. There's no doubt about it. But there's no correlation between the tax cuts and the recession. That's ridiculous. Now, Bush was a major league spender. And that was a problem. In fact, he was the biggest spender of all time until Obama. And then Obama took that policy and supersized it. So when Obama says, when President Obama says the failed policies of the past, I don't know. He's doubling down on those failed policies. So I'm kind of not with the same viewpoint on that. Furthermore, the situation was well known that the economy was a problem. And I really don't think after 4 years a president gets to go back, ignore his own record, and then say, well, it was Bush's fault. That seems to me a little bit specious at best. Obama has a record. He did things in the first year. He had 100% control of Congress. He had a supermajority in the House, and he had 100% control of Senate. He passed any legislation he wanted. There was no Republican obstruction. There was no way for the Republicans to stop anything. So in fact, had Obama wanted to do some things, like if he wanted to pass immigration reform, he could have. He chose not to. If he wanted to impact the economy more, once the stimulus was done, he moved on and started health care. So these are choices he made. Now, I think he should live with those choices and live with the results of those choices. Those choices are not positive. We're looking at today where, according to their own analysis, they said pass the stimulus and unemployment won't get to 8%. Unemployment they passed the stimulus, and quite frankly, the stimulus has been actually ingrained into the deficit. So every year we're paying that $1 trillion. That's what the deficit is. He passed it, and unemployment hasn't gone below 8%. So I think the record matters, and it's not what he says or what he tried. It's what he did that we should be looking at, and it's not very good.
I think that even if a Republican gets in there, you've got so many Tea Party people in there that anybody who tries to be conservative, they're going to try to oust them too, because you can see it now. You can see it with some of the more liberal Republicans here in Illinois. So I think that you're not putting enough blame on Bush for where we're at. And, I've read numbers where he spent like $5 trillion and Obama's kept it down to somewhere around $2 trillion.
Well, that's wrong. Bush spent $5 trillion in 8 years. Obama spent $5.5 trillion in less than 4. I mean, the deficit when Obama came into office was about $10 trillion. It's now over $16 trillion. So I'm not sure where you're getting your numbers. The debt is $16 trillion. There's just no question about it. Obama had $1.2 trillion of deficit spending each year in the first 3 years of his own budget. So I'm not really sure where those numbers are coming from. That's just clearly those aren't correct.
Well, let me interject here if I could. And do we have agreement on the general idea that ongoing, seemingly endless deficit spending is a bad thing for the country? I mean, do we both agree on that?
Well, I believe it's bad.
Well, yeah, you can't keep spending unless you have money to cover it.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on that. Now, are we also all in agreement on the fact that built into our current budgets, pretty much for as far as the eye can see, we have a minimum of $1.6 trillion deficits?
Currently, that's correct. I will tell you this, and I'm not sure Julie is aware of this. The Republicans, they don't want to cut spending. They want to reduce the growth of spending, but they don't want to cut the deficit. That's not what they're interested in doing, as well as the Democrats. I mean, a lot of people think the budget that Paul Ryan put out there was draconian. Paul Ryan put out a budget that increased spending every single year. Not $1 was going to be cut from the federal budget. So when you hear that, things like that, this is where, Julie's point about people can't, come to a compromise. That's because the politicians aren't having an honest discussion. So, you got to have an honest discussion first before you can get to a compromise. And this is why I say I really don't think it's left versus right. I think the people have got to force the politicians to talk to us honestly and openly. And budgets and deficits matter, but quite frankly, nobody actually knows what anybody's talking about.
Sounds like deep trouble. What do you think, Julie?
Well, I still think that you've got to get somebody to work together, but there's a lot of other issues. It's almost like they've got this vendetta against Obama just to get him out of the. A lot of the Republicans have said he's going to be a one-termer. That's all we want him for. We want to get rid of him.
Well, the opposite party says that every 4 years about the other guy. I mean, how is that anything?
Not as heavy duty as they are on this. And, most Congress and presidents compromise to some degree. And there's very little compromise on the Tea Party people. Very, very little.
Well, let's use that as a setup for the next question. And maybe that'll shed some light on the graveness that some people feel is associated with this election. Greg, you hear it all the time. This is the most important election of our time. And of course, that in one sense is always true because let's face it, elections in history are in the past. There's nothing we can do about it. The ones that are always the most important are the ones just coming up. So why is it that this election is the most important, or really is it?
Well, it is very important. It's important because we really have come to what I think is this point where the American people, they have to decide what kind of future do we want. We are heading to what could be considered what most people term what's called an entitlement society, where you have people who are so dependent on the federal government that there is no choice but to continue to raise taxes, to continue to try and figure out ways to draw more money out of the private economy. And this is what that point of view was when people speak about, where are we heading. I always say this, that if you get to the fact where you have more people in the cart that are pulling the cart, you can't take the cart anywhere. And this is my analogy to that. Julie mentioned something about taxation and fairness. And one of my pet peeves about this discussion and argument is this. When everybody talks about fairness, there isn't one person who actually defines what fairness is. I can't get anybody, maybe you'll tell me, Julie, what number is fair? Is it 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%? I just like to know what. Because I've never heard one Democrat say it. I've never heard the president say it. I've never heard one person on that side who talks about fairness all the time and tax fairness actually say what number is fair.
Well, if I'm paying 20% and a corporation is paying 13%, why shouldn't he pay 20% like I am?
Well, my corporation paid more than 20% taxes, so I'm paying what's more than fair, right?
Well, as long as you're paying taxes on it. But
I paid more than 20% corporation taxes.
But there's a lot of corporations that don't.
I know. But I asked you what's fair. You said 20% was fair.
Well, I think it's whatever the normal person pays. If the normal person is paying 20%, then that's what the corporation should pay.
What if a normal person pays 48%? Is that fair?
A normal person?
Yeah.
Well, no. If he's making under $250,000 a year, I don't see where he'd be paying that.
Well, what if he's making more than $250,000? What's fair for that?
Rather than go off into the tall grass with this, because I think we could possibly do that, and it's a very, very valid issue. But rather than do that, let's keep a very simple scope on this question, and I think it's a fair one that you raised, Greg. Julie, what is the, say, maximum taxation amount that could be levied against any individual person? Is there a maximum taxation amount that you would support, or is 100% taxation something that conceivably would be agreeable to you?
100% taxation? No, somewhere in the 20%.
Okay, I think that probably kind of answers your question, right, Greg?
Sure. I mean, it's lower than what people currently pay now. So you're not going to get any increase in taxation if you tax everybody 20%. The current tax code is what it is. 36% is the tax rate on individual income earners over $250,000 right now. So she's actually advocating a cut in taxes, which I happen to agree in. But I don't think that's really what she's advocating, right?
Well, if everybody pays the same amount of taxes or percentage.
They don't.
No, because there's a lot of corporations that don't pay any taxes.
Well, that's because there's capital cronyism, where big business and big government get together and allow those things to happen. That's certainly not the situation. Like me, I own a corporation. I own my own corporation, but I'm still a small businessman. I have no clout. I don't go to Washington, D.C. I don't have lobbyists making rules and regulations for us. And so, yeah, I pay more corporate taxes than GE. That's absolutely true. And I agree. That's absolutely unfair.
So you think it's okay that you should have to pay less taxes than GE?
I think that when government plays favorites, that's wrong. Now, the result that over the years, the government has manipulated the tax code to such a degree that it gets to choose good businesses and bad businesses. It gets to choose who it favors and who it doesn't. And this is the result of a bigger and bigger federal government. If government were limited, if it didn't get to spend this money this way, didn't get to take our money and use it against us, then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
You've got people who are supplying lobbyists and filibusters, and they're all big corporations. And so,
there are big unions, there's big corporations, there's big government, and they are all in it together, and they hurt small business.
It's not the government where you're saying that the government is paying for everything, that the government is doing this. This is corporations working with different legislative people to better themselves, to better their corporations. But in most situations, it's mostly the Republicans who back these people.
No, politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, have benefited from this system where they grant tax favors to certain individuals and corporations in turn for whatever benefit they deem, whether it's campaign cash. Let's not forget that 4 years ago, Wall Street supported Barack Obama to the tune of about $7 to $1 to McCain. So this is not a Republican issue. This is a Democratic and Republican issue, and they're both beholden to lobbyists. There's no question about it.
Well, I think we can all agree that where the big money is where the big power is, and that comes from corporations in some cases, comes from political lobbies, it comes from large public unions and private unions to a lesser extent. But I think we could probably answer that whole question the same way we could answer the proverbial question, how long is a piece of string? Meaning we're probably not going to get to the answer anytime quick. So in the interests of winding the conversation down, let's circle all this back to something that I think we all also feel is very near and dear to our hearts, and that's the American dream. Because we all love America, I think. That's safe to say. And Julie, if you had to boil your idea of the American dream down to a couple of sentences, what are those principles? What are those core principles that really make it for you?
Well, I have to actually say that I've lived the American dream. I was married 39 years ago to a wonderful husband. We were able to buy our own house right away. He's a tool and die maker. I got to stay home with my children when we first were married, which nowadays you can't do. Two people have to work. My mortgage payment was very, very inexpensive. We raised two wonderful boys. They're teachers. Their wives are teachers. We have four wonderful grandchildren, all boys. And I think everybody should be able to do that and then live a decent life when they get to be retired. And I don't see where that's happening. Now everybody wants to cut everything. There's a lot of people that don't have pension plans and don't have real strong 401ks. And so they have to depend on Medicare and Social Security. And I think that's that's what we still have to make sure, that those people are taken care of, and that we're not going on a voucher system.
Well, I think what you've just described there, everybody would agree with in terms of what they'd like to see as an outcome. Greg Wiener, core principles that would support an American dream like Julie just described, what do you think those are?
Well, I too have lived the American dream. Started a business from the scratch 25 years ago in my garage. Have a lovely family who are all just wonderful. The American dream is still alive because Americans have an internal spirit in them that is not going to be broken by one cycle or two cycles or three cycles even of down economic times. So the dream is alive. It's a little bit more difficult to attain. There are challenges ahead of us in regards to how to make decisions, how to go forward. I just say that free people being able to make decisions for themselves with the support of a social safety net is the best path forward. I just don't believe that, let's say we call them a handful of politicians, 5 to 10,000 people. I just don't believe that they can decide better what's good for the 330 million of us who are in this country. I just don't believe it. I believe that we, the people, have the power, and we've lost that power and given it over to our politicians. And I'd like to reach out and grab the Julies of the world and say, come on, let's get that power back, because it's not ours, it's theirs, and they took it from us.
Would you summarize that by saying individual liberty and property rights?
Well, individual and liberty and property rights are at the base of a free society. And if we don't have those, then we're not free.
Got it. Well, Julee Mortensen and Greg Wiener, this has been a quick half hour, and it's really spun by, but I think you've both done a very good job of articulating your ideas, and I think we managed to get through it without too many sparks flying, but I think we both made our points pretty well. What do you think, Julie?
I have to say one thing with Greg. It's very nice talking to you, because I have found out in the last couple of months, people just aren't, they're not willing to listen to what you have to say. You know, it's my view. You're not going to change my view. I'm not going to change your view. You're going to vote for whoever you want. And that's what's great about America. This is what we can do. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yeah, Julie, thank you very much. And I agree. I've always looked at these conversations with people as an opportunity to share my views, but more importantly, maybe talk to them about things they haven't thought about from a different perspective. It is tough times, and part of our problem is we don't talk to each other. But I really appreciate this opportunity. Eric has been fortunate enough to give me the opportunity to speak before, but I enjoyed this process, and actually I still think I can hopefully impact you to understand that it's not the liberal versus the conservative. It's not left versus right, and that's what I want you to really think about.
Well, Greg Wiener of Quick Screws International and Julee Mortensen of Lucky 13 Fastener Sales, we're going to leave it right there, and thank you so much, the both of you, for joining us. And, we'll see what happens in November.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
You don't have to wait until November to find out if Andy Pels will be in Las Vegas this year. It's coming up next on Fully Threaded.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived to redefine the notion of superior engineering. See one and behold the ultimate synthesis of form and function, style and substance. Hear one as the head turns with inexorable force. Touch one and feel the fire-forged steel standing in stark contrast to the sleek and graceful lines of the body. But to drive one, to drive a 2012 Beacon Fastener is to experience a harmony of power and performance performance that surpasses all expectations. At any speed, at any torque, each 2012 Beacon Fastener model offers a level of handling unparalleled in its class, a feat made possible by the knowledge acquired through rigorous and systematic test driving, conducted at our own industry-renowned proving grounds, nestled in the heartland of America. And with the 2012 model year, we proudly introduce the newest high-performance addition to our lineup, the Machine Screw Series. Call toll-free at 800-669-2658 for your own private consultation with a Beacon representative and learn a whole new definition of performance. The 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived. Drive one today.
Have you ever thought about what it's like to be a transformational leader? Hi, this is Sandy Cardillo, President of Conrad Associates. I'd like to welcome you to our conversation on women in leadership and evolving perspective during the Women in Fasteners Industry Gathering at the National Industrial Fastener and Supply Expo on Wednesday, October 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada. We will explore how women's approach to leadership has evolved into the present and thoughts on an emerging perspective for the 21st century work environment. Please join us for an interesting conversation and a great networking opportunity. For details, please visit www.fastenerwomen.com. I hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio, talk radio for the fastener industry.
This is Andy Pels from ScrewCrew.com. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the Vegas show, and we're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online fastening brothers in thread, back with you. Well, Greg and Julie, I think they did a pretty good job. That's a pretty tall task talking about politics and fasteners all in the same conversation, although admittedly it was mostly political.
Right. Well, it's not talking about fasteners and politics isn't that unusual. It's when you have different views on both those things or on some of those things.
Right. Well, my guess is that at the upcoming Vegas show, you're not going to hear very much talk about politics, at least not in the open. And so hopefully this segment provided a little bit of a community service and it stirs the pot a little bit.
Yeah, right.
You know, I was talking to Andy Pels, and of course we're going to make a little Andy Pels announcement before we close out the show, but he made a kind of a funny comment. He said, Greg Wiener is the Ted Nugent of the fastener industry. Because of the way that he talks politics. I mean, he wears it all right on his sleeve, and, he's respectful about it, but he lets you know exactly what he thinks.
That's right. Well, he's not frightened of that either, so that's good.
So then, moving along to the Vegas show, once again, we want to repeat that the traveling salesman has announced he's going to be holding his meetup at the Bourbon Room, and that's somewhere in the Venetian Hotel, as I understand it, and he wants everybody to meet over there at 8:30 or later on the 11th. That's Thursday, the long day for the show. You gonna head over there, Bry?
Yeah, I will be, and I'll be like checking behind all the potted palms, looking to see which one's hiding the traveling salesman. Or it could be he's standing right out in the open because he knows no one knows who he is.
Well, I think that's a strategy, as he's mentioned before on the show. So good luck in determining his true identity. Maybe we'll have some fun with that after the show once you find out who it is. Of course, you're also going to be heading right after to several other cocktail parties, I know. So, pace yourself.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll be able to pace myself. Age has done that, okay?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, right.
What's my problem then?
You just didn't learn.
Yeah, I keep stumbling up against that same old brick wall. Hey, I'd like to take a minute and mention some of the booth numbers of some of our friends and sponsors, and I'm going to just shout these out in alphabetical order. Our friends at Beacon Fasteners and Components are going to be in booth 103, the very prestigious location, I might add. Stelfast, they've got a real large booth as usual. Go out there and get your Stelfast monkey. Can't wait to find out what the color is this year. They're going to be in booth 1043. Last show we mentioned that, among other things, the NFDA is going to be rolling out the barrel. Yep, they're going to have a keg in their booth, and that's in booth 1803.
It's a special night for Jim Saraceni. See, Jim, I'm looking out for you, okay?
Does he listen all the way to the end of the show?
Sometimes.
And our new sponsors, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, they're going to be in booth 827. Stop by and, hey, maybe you can run into Dan Zender there.
Right, yeah. Which part of Alphabetical is BSNFT?
Yeah, actually, I realized that as I was reading it, so... Especially since the last one is Fasteners Clearinghouse. How the hell did that happen? I don't know.
Right. You've been watching too many of Obama's ads, okay?
Oh. Come on, we were going to try and stay nonpartisan on this episode, Brian.
Oh, okay, right.
We just can't do it, can we? No. Well, your friends from FCH will be in booth 1715.
Right, so don't be frightened to stop by and say hello. There's lots of you we talked on the phone. Some of we've met, but we'd like to meet plenty of you, okay?
Did you get your tie picked out for this one?
No, I have not. I've got plenty to choose from, but I haven't decided yet. I'll decide probably a day beforehand.
Wow. Yeah, well, you're a spontaneous kind of guy. This is becoming almost as big a deal as the color of the Stelfast monkey, but you always wow the crowds with your amazing ties.
Right, and sometimes it puts them off, okay?
Sometimes.
Yeah, quite often.
Well, let's take a minute to thank our guests before we wrap up this episode. And they were from Quick Screws International, Greg Wiener. From Lucky 13 Fastener Sales, Julee Mortensen. Ruth Dowling and Cris Young joined us from Women in the Fastener Industry, Wi-Fi. And Joe Poplinski was featured on the Fastener News Report. Joe, of course, with Beacon Fasteners and Components. Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report was brought to us today by Fastener Technology International Magazine and Volt Industrial Plastics. And our title sponsors on the show were Stelfast and Beacon Fasteners and Components. We'd also like to give a special shout out to our newest sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio, and that's Trinity Hardware Headquarters. We look forward to seeing you out there once again in booth 827. Finally, Fastenal. We appreciate your support as always. And let us know how we're doing, everybody. You can do so at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. And of course, we're always out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded.
When Twitter's working, okay?
Twitter has been crashing a little bit lately, hasn't it?
Right. It's not entirely stable at the moment. Now, my version of it is completely unstable, but even the real versions are having trouble.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to go into your version again. I think we've all covered that and
done it to death.
Maybe it requires a new iPhone. I don't know. Maybe that's your subtle hint that we got to pop for an iPhone 5. Is that what it is?
No. I have to wait for another 6 months.
Well, I wanted to mention this, and I guess that's the perfect segue. There's a story in the AP. This was flying all around the internet this week, and the headline was iPhone muggings up 40%. You see this one, Brian?
No, I did not see this, but I can imagine it.
Yeah, the story starts out, the iPhone and other Apple gadgets are hugely popular, not just with techies, but also with thieves. A new report by New York police shows thefts of Apple products up in the city 40% compared to last year, outstripping a rise in overall crime for the city. Officials say from January through September 21st, there were 11,447 thefts of Apple products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually some article in the paper every second week or so in Chicago here, someone getting their phones ripped off them in the train.
Doesn't say anything here about Las Vegas. And of course, you can't read the news online anymore without looking at some of the comments that people make. And there was one interesting one that I read here. I'm looking at the WorldNetDaily.com site, and one guy says, I bet it's insurance scams. Once these people get the iPhone 5 and find out their old technology and there are more advanced phones out there, they claim they are mugged to get out of the contract.
Oh, God, okay. Who is it signed by? Andy, no, screwcrew.com. Yes, Andy. Well, hold it tight, right?
That's good advice. Watch your iPhones, everybody.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned Andy Pels, I guess it's time to wrap up the show with our last little bit of news here. Actually, it's more than a little bit of news. And you know what this is, right, Bri?
Oh, I've been waiting with bated breath for the last hour.
As have many in the fastener industry. And that question, of course, is, will Mr. Andy Pels attend this year's Vegas Fastener Show? Well, I spoke to Andy yesterday via Skype, and the answer is that yes, he will be at the show all day Thursday. He's flying out late Thursday. He said he'd try and hit Traveling Salesman's meetup at the Bourbon Room. So, man, that is big, big news.
Wow. Oh, I hope he stops by our booth and says hello. He can show me how his Android works, okay?
I'm sure he will be more happy to do that, waving his new technology around in front of your decrepit old iPhone 4, Bri.
I know, yeah. I'll be embarrassed to even have it visible.
I guess the last big question is going to be the color of the Stealthfast monkey, but we're going to find that out all in good time.
Right, we don't have too long to wait now.
No, we don't. And we'll see you all out there, folks. And with that, we're going to wrap up episode 52.
See you later. Stop by and say hello, okay?
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there and sell some screws, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.